What's up, y'all, and welcome back for another episode of Technically Athletic. I want to thank you all for listening to the previous episode with Kevon Townsend. If you haven't, please go back and listen to both parts 1 and 2. I want to thank Kevon for coming on. And now for this episode, we have my good brother, Mike Lombard. We was teammates in college, and I've really got a chance to get to know him better through this interview. I got to understand more about the relationship with his father and the things he had to do to get through college and maintain. So I really hope you guys appreciate the interview. And if you like it, please hit the subscribe button. If you listen to it on the audio, leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Now, enjoy the show. Thank you.
No clearance.
All right, welcome to Technically Athletic for another episode. We got Jay on this week. Jay, how you doing?
Good, I'm good. Technically athletic, I guess.
Yeah, there you go, man. Man, we have a special guest with us today. Someone I truly consider a brother, teammate, like a half roommate, but never was a roommate. You know what I'm saying? We got my man's Mike Lombard in the building for today. Mike, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm feeling not technically athletic. I feel very athletic.
That is great. You know what's funny? I don't ever think I've called you Mike in my life. It's just Lombard.
No.
So, Lumbeezy.
Lombard is good.
I was gonna say Lumbeezy.
It's good to see you, man. How you been? I know you currently reside in Austin, Texas, man. How's that going, man?
It's good, man. It's good. Been here almost 4 years now. 4 years in May. Company I joined, I was about employee number 30 or 35. We're pushing 400 now, and maybe growing to 600 by the end of this year. $2 billion valuation. So we're good now. We're feeling good.
That's fire.
That's fire.
You top of the seniority list.
Look, man. Facts, man. We are here to, give you some flowers, give you a chance to, talk your shit. You feel me? So before I ask you questions, I just want to, I looked up your bio from back at St. A. You know what I'm saying? Of course, 2012 Northeast 10 rookie team. You know what I'm saying? But before that, all New England selection.
Yeah.
3-time All-State. 3-time All-State, All-Conference. Legit. Freshman starter. You know what I'm saying? I know sophomore year was tough for you, but came back, played in every game at tight end. So we're going to get into that, bro. So first off, where you from, my boy?
So I grew up in southern New Hampshire, about 35 minutes north of Boston, small little town called Pelham, New Hampshire. Town about 10 to 15,000 people. High school about 700 people. 700 kids.
Man, what does this area have? What's New Hampshire's like reputation for sports?
We're a basketball state through and through. The time I was coming out, not just New Hampshire, but kind of the Northeast region as a whole, like Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire to a certain degree. But the time I was coming out from probably 2007 to when I graduated from prep school, every single year we probably had about 10 plus kids going high major D1. And then a couple kids I grew up with and played against and played with, they're in the league right now.
That's crazy.
So basketball stayed through and through.
It's crazy to think. Like, I mean, me being from Maryland, I talk a lot of shit about a lot of players for the DMV, but like that was something I never knew, that like so many people from that area was coming through the ranks like that. So that's fire, man. So what did you growing up? What was your sports? What was you playing?
Yeah, man, I kind of had an interesting kind of upbringing when it came to sports. I hated football. I hated everything about football. I only played because my father wanted to live vicariously through me in my football career early on. But I struggled with weight when I was a youth. And so I was way too big to play with kids my own age. So I was the 8-year-old running with the 11, 12-year-olds, which also didn't make me like
Yo,
football. So I was
Yeah.
getting my ass kicked every day. Like nothing more demoralizing. We're running like team laps, and my ass is like halfway like across the other side of the field where my team's finishing.
Yeah. It
Sucked.
sounds terrible.
what was the
Yeah.
worst drill? What was the worst drill? Because I know when I was playing, and there was always like the young kid, and there was just this one drill where you had to run, you hit him with the shoulder, and we would all just like run this kid over.
Oh my God.
Like, what was the worst drill for you at that age?
Oh man, I think at that age it was definitely. I mean, like outside of Oklahoma's, I'd say we did this thing called the hole drill where we had all the bags kind of lined up, and so there would be a ball carrier on one side, tackler on the other side. Ball carrier would be, looking at the coach. Coach would be standing behind the defender. He'd hold up a hole number, and the running back would have to hit that hole, and then you'd have to go meet him in the hole or guess where he's going to be. And so one of my most traumatizing experiences was I was the running back. Never thought I would ever be a running back at that age, but I had the ball. The defender guessed wrong. I went through one hole. He was going through the other, and the only way he could get to me was clotheslining me.
Oh,
And so I got decleated, like neck, head, all that ripped off, and laying on the ground. Felt like I was dead in practice. In that moment, I was like, I don't know if football's for me, man.
Yeah.
How old was you? You was 8?
Jesus.
I was 8 at that time. Yeah. I remember like yesterday because I was like, I never want to feel like that again.
I hated the worst drill for me was when they used to have the circle and you had to like just run into everybody, like just like you just
It's like Friday Night Lights.
Send them in. It's like why'd they do that to children? Yeah, man.
Different day and age, man.
What was your did you stay in that on that like I know that team probably had like a program like you go all the way up to like 6th grade. You stayed on there all the way through, or?
Yeah, I stayed in that program. So up until I was 12 years old, I was pretty much playing years up. And this is actually the year I got skinny. So up until that point, like going into kind of like my last year playing up, I was in 5th grade. I was 5'5", 160 pounds. And in that age, I mean, people today aren't even that big. And I was like, I was pretty much eating my grade. But my dad made me a bet going into my 6th grade year. It was at the time like $100. And at that time, you're like, man, if I get $100, I'm balling. I'm gonna go to McDonald's, go to all that. So which kind of counterintuitive, but he put me on a diet in 6th grade, and so I was on the Atkins diet my entire 6th grade year, and I ended up hitting a growth spurt at that time. So I went from 5'5", 160 in 5th grade to 5'9", 125 in 6th grade.
Yes.
And so at that time my dad stuck me in track. So I was running the mile in track when I got skinny.
So you ran, what's that, 800? No, that's not 800. 16.
16.
When you got skinny and slim, is that when you realized you liked basketball more?
I always played basketball, but and it's actually really funny too because I was so big. One of my teammates, his father's nicknamed me Moose because I was too big and I was throwing kids around. And so he said, you play like a moose. And so everyone in my hometown, no one will call me by my first name, my last name. It's just Moose. Jeez. My father still calls me that to this day. So the year I got skinny, I went from like a moose to like an elk. I was cruising. Real quick, I was cruising.
So what positions would you play in? Through youth league, I'm pretty sure old lineman was, the first.
Yeah. It was O-line. I always had good hands though, just because of basketball, all the translation, like in terms of footwork and all that. But in the words of my coach at the time, I just don't think you have the wheels. That's what he told me. So he stuck me on the line.
Damn. These coaches, man.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, ruthless. And then the other thing too, I mean, I don't know how it was for y'all, like in youth, but we had like a minimum amount of plays you had to play. Like you couldn't sit on the bench the whole game. So they give you a minimum of 8 plays, and once you got your 8 plays, they're like, all right, you're done. So that was me. I was O-line, third string offense, get my 8 plays. Next, you're done. That was the story of my first like 3 or 4 years playing Pop Warner.
When did you feel like I could stick with this?
To be honest, I never really thought I could stick with it. Like it wasn't until honestly the year I got skinny when I was playing with kids my own age, and I was like, damn, I'm kicking the shit out of people my age now. This is nice. But I only played football just to keep my dad happy. I had no plans to play football beyond. I didn't even think I was going to play football in high school until I got coerced by the team captain at the time. But I thought I was going to be, come high school, I thought I was going to drop football entirely and just focused on basketball, because that was my true passion. I always loved basketball. I was playing basketball 9 months out of the year, AAU, travel ball, school season, only played football.
Nah,
What?
let's talk about AAU, man. Let's talk about the basketball. What was what numbers was you putting up, bro?
Yeah, so I mean, I was probably around like 10 a game, 8 to 10 a game. But the teams I was playing on were very competitive. Now, like I was on the first couple of programs I was with, one being this program called the Mass Rivals. So I don't know if you've heard of the Mass Rivals, but they're a very big program in the Northeast and mainly Massachusetts, obviously. But I was on one of the first two teams they ever created. And so it was like a lot of the top tier talent that was coming out of like the local Mass area, what we call the Merrimack Valley. And so from there, that's where it kind of started. And then we would play against, a lot of the top rated prospects like coming out, like Shabazz Napier, buddy of mine, Noah Vonleh, who I grew up with. One of my friends growing up, George Niang, plays for Philadelphia right now. So it was early on, you didn't know the type of talent that would be coming out of the area because you're, 6th, 7th grade.
Yeah. So you was so you would play football from like September to August, November, and then it's just basketball the rest of the year.
Literally on the road traveling, like me and my pops. At the time, one of my best friends, like from my hometown, he was kind of the same boat as me. He was dedicated basketball player. He ended up playing basketball at Trinity, small D3 school in Connecticut. But our fathers would typically road trip. One of them would take turns driving, and we'd road trip all around the region, sometimes getting out as far as Pennsylvania, and then, did some tournaments in Vegas, did some tournaments in Florida. So we were well traveled at an early age.
You never got like burnt out? You never got tired of that?
At that age, no. I mean, now it takes 45 minutes to stretch and all that just to get ready to play one pickup game. But back then, it's like you could play 5-6 games in a day, and you're good.
The good old days.
Okay, so
not stretching, not caring about anything. Man, I wish yoga I knew about yoga back then.
You got to stretch for 30 seconds now instead of 10.
Yeah.
Man, so we get to high school, man. Pelham High School. What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you said you thought about cutting football. So what made you keep playing?
Honestly, I got so there's this kid in my town. His name was Bruce Vieira. He was kind of like the flagship football player. He was varsity captain his sophomore year. Very athletic. He was a beast. Like, he would. Yeah, I mean, like, he just happened to be really small. He was like 5. Yeah. Like he was good. Pop Warner days, they get to, the super regionals. Like you win the state championship, you go on, and you keep playing until you go for the national title. I mean, and he was balling against like that talent too, like not just like kind of in our region. He was good. He asked me one day, as 8th grade summer going into my 9th grade year, I was at a lacrosse game at the high school, and he goes, "Hey, so you going to play football next year?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. It doesn't look likely." And he's like, "Well, why?" I was like, "I'm just going to focus on basketball."
Oh,
And he
damn.
called me soft. And I was like, "Man, whatever." And then I got home and I was thinking about it. I was like, "Man, fuck him. I'm going to play." So I ended up playing, and so I ended up starting every game as a freshman on varsity at linebacker. 3 interceptions, 2 I took for tutties.
Oh man! So what? So this is your first year at linebacker?
And we, yeah, that's probably the first year like full time I was playing linebacker.
Damn, so like in like youth, like going up to 8th grade when you played football, what position did you play?
Outside of the line, my last year in Pt.1 was the first time, because I think at that point I'd gotten to 6 feet by 8th grade. And by that point too, the same coach who told me I didn't have wheels asked me to play tight end. So that was the one year outside of college where I actually played tight end. So my last year I did that, but primarily my ass was on the line, getting my 8 plays, getting subbed out. That was it.
Real quick, back to youth real quick. You was what? How did they do the like the different teams? Was it age and weight? Or
yeah, so if you were up until, you could have, I think they called it older but lighters, where you could have like 3 quote unquote, if you were like a year above that age group, you had to be below a certain weight. So they'd allow, like my last year coming out, I think I was 13, but they were allowing 14-year-olds to play if they made a certain weight.
Got you.
So
this episode is brought to you by the good people at No Clearance. All right, go to noclearancepod.com/shop. We have merchandise for you to wear. Please support the brand. Okay, we got our new clearance collection. All right, with the Defy the Trends, Be the Standard shirts, as well as the No Clearance shirt and the Superior No Clearance shirt with the dad hats. Dad hats are selling big. Okay. So please make sure you go to noclearancepod.com/shop. Buy you some merch to support the podcast so we can get bigger and better every week. Thank you. Back to the show. I know that goes.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, 3 picks, 2 tutties at linebacker. You wasn't playing offense, JV?
No, I never played a snap of JV in my life. Yeah, no, I was straight varsity. I played on the line at the varsity. Like,
you never played JV?
That's what he was saying. You didn't hear what he said. He started varsity.
I was varsity. I started every game at my public high school. I started every game varsity.
Freshman year, varsity.
As a freshman.
Yes, that's why I had to ask him what position he played the year before.
And I got a ring.
That
undefeated state champs.
So Pelham was the dogs. Them were like, y'all was like,
my freshman sophomore year, we went back to back undefeated,
and you was
state championships.
Our
rivals were probably, my freshman year is this school called Guilford. They had a couple legit dudes, but my sophomore year is probably this school called St. Thomas Aquinas. Actually, where Ryan Monette came from. That's his high school.
Monette.
Yeah.
Punt return ass.
Shout out to Monette, kick returner.
Does New Hampshire have like this is just a funny question. New Hampshire did y'all feel like y'all can go to Mass and beat shit out of them, or?
No. Some of the schools that probably could go into Mass and be very competitive would be like the Division I schools, like Pinkerton Academy, where they had their high school was 3,500 kids, so they just had more to pull from. My varsity team, or like my football program, my freshman year, we had 12 kids on JV, just period. So they were playing both
They
ways
was
the whole game.
Damn.
Same thing with us.
Damn.
They was
Yeah.
tired. Okay, so
But my coach weeded out a bunch of them too, because to this day, even comparison to the college off season or like our winter conditioning, he still had some of the hardest things
Damn.
I've ever
I
had to
bet.
do,
High school
conditioning
was some of the
wise.
worst conditioning
Yeah.
ever.
Cause
But before we get to that, well, how was the coming into high school? How was their training camp experience?
My training camp experience was interesting. Like our conditioning test was the mile. If you were a lineman, you had to
how about
run
that?
a 7-minute mile.
You've been running 1,600.
So Jay, I'm sorry.
I've never
So
run a
Jay, I'm
7-minute
sorry.
mile my entire life. In my entire life, 7 minutes. That's a word.
So if you were a lineman, if you were a lineman, it was 7 minutes. If you were a big skill or anything less, or like a wide receiver skill guy, had to be 6.5 or less.
That's not bad.
So at the
What?
time, I mean, I was
Those
like
aren't
well
world
conditioned
records.
for it because I was running. Yeah. So, but if you failed, we had to go back to the track the next morning. You had to run it again.
Damn.
Hey,
So we would do that every single morning until
Oh,
everybody passed.
the whole
Like it couldn't be
team?
just one person passing.
That
Whole
sucks.
team.
That's terrible.
Damn.
On top of 2
Oh,
days.
No.
Yeah, that was back when there was no rules, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't until our junior
Yeah.
senior year when there was like high school regulations
Yeah.
for 2 days.
No,
Yeah. Luckily, we didn't have to do it
I-
more than 3 days in a row. We, like by the third day, everyone had hit
that's
because we had
crazy.
run so much
I
by
thought-
that point.
Ready. Man,
That's crazy. Because back then, they really didn't give a fuck.
no.
That's crazy.
No, we used to do one of the worst things I ever had to do was you know how they have the
Yeah.
5 lineman sled. Like we would literally do that as a conditioning drill. Like he would have us push it all the way around the soccer field, and if you jumped, you had to run 25-yard suicides.
Gracious.
And then you had to get back up and you had to keep pushing it. So sometimes we were doing it if our coach was really mad at us. When we got to like actually school in session, there'd be soccer games going on, and we'd be pushing the sled around the soccer game while all the parents are like pointing at us, laughing, and we're like, some linemen are crying, and
That
it
sounds
sucked.
terrible.
All right.
That sucked.
Oh man, so 2-time state champion sophomore year. I'm guessing you linebacker again, or
Mhm.
did your role expand?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah, so I freshman year, I was pretty pissed I didn't get all state. I got honorable mention. Sophomore year when we won, I got all state. And then junior year, my final year of public school, we lost in the first round of the playoffs, but I got all state then too,
damn.
a linebacker.
That's tough.
That-
Now I did watch a highlight tape, Lombard. I watched all of them on your YouTube page.
On YouTube.
Mike.
I didn't know you
The
still
prep that's
had
the
those
prep
up.
school. That's the
I
prep
did.
school.
Mike Hill.
The prep school highlights. Yeah, man. Where do you think all the views come from? No one else. I watch them.
Hey, them jokes got a lot of views.
I gotta watch. I gotta relive the glory days, man. I think, probably half of those are mine.
With y'all, it looked like a lot of the. Well, real quick at Pelham, what defense was y'all running?
Defense, we were running. I think we were running a 4-2 stack
Not bad. That's nice.
at the time. So
That's nice. It looked like it was a lot of. Well, at least from Pelham, it was a lot of triple option, or it was just a lot of in the box type stuff. But how was it? Was this before spread offense? Was that?
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So my public high school offense was the wishbone, and we threw in some spread. But then when I got to high school, or when I got to prep school, it was double wing,
Damn.
toss
the
sweeps,
double-
counters,
That-
throw the ball once a
That's
game,
double wing.
That's
twice a game.
crazy with the reputation New Hampshire got for the coaches and whatnot. That's crazy to think.
Yeah, it was. Well, my head coach at prep school, he lived in Ohio, and they were a very run heavy state, just in general. And so for him, like his mantra was, "No one stops power." So like that was our, power right, power left, counter left, counter
He ain't
right.
lying though. That's
I mean, just like when you and I would play NCAA, you play Stanford, you play with Stanford, you just have like 5 linemen load the back. Literally, you'd run the ball 90 times a game, and then you hit me with some dumbass waggle.
Hey, don't put me in a 2-minute drill.
I'm like,
yeah.
This dude would beat you 14-7.
Oh my God. Although there was that one game where you and I had, it was like 75 to like 74 or something like that.
Receiver dropped the 2-point conversion. Bro, I was so bad, bro. I was so bad. Oh man, that's funny as hell, man. So your senior year, man, you transferred to Proctor Academy.
No, actually. So after my junior year of public school, I transferred to prep and I reclassified as a junior again. So I repeated my junior year, and I did my junior and senior.
What made you reclassify?
Yeah, so I mean, there was a lot I had to mature with. Like, so for me, I was always successful. Like when I got to high school, right? I was starting, varsity since I was a freshman. Same thing. Honestly, it was the same thing with basketball. I swung JV. That was the only time I played JV. Was my freshman year, like half the year. But then from that point on, I was playing varsity the whole time. I was one of the top ranked players in the state in both sports. So I wasn't really trying as hard in like other avenues. So at the time, like prep school was like just starting to become like the wave for a lot of people. And so it gave you the opportunity to not necessarily start over, but more so just kind of like get your act together. And I wasn't getting necessarily the exposure I thought I should have gotten in public school. And so it's kind of a combination of like I just needed to wake up academically and just try harder. And 2, I just wanted to have more opportunities to get in front of more coaches. So that's when after my junior year, we lost in the state championship in basketball. And that was the last game I ever played for my public school. Or actually, no. We lost in the first round of the playoffs my junior year. That was the last game I ever played for my high school.
That's tough, man. So what was prep school like? I know a lot of kids from college did it, but I never knew anybody until I went to college that did prep school. What was that experience?
Honestly, it's better than most colleges, if I'm honest. Yeah, so it's pretty much college, just very much reduced. So I went from not even a big high school, but my prep school was probably about 250 kids, and then about like 80-ish kids in my graduating class. But you lived in a dorm, you had your roommates. Your facilities, honestly, our facilities, some of our facilities are better than St. A's.
Sorry about that. Our facilities was trash.
Yeah. Yeah, because some of the endowments from some of the alumni, are pretty extensive. Yeah. So we it was a very scaled down version of college. It taught you how to live on your own. Taught you how to really we had mandatory study hall every night besides Friday and Saturday. We had an academic advisor where essentially it would be that advisor and like 5 other kids. So it was really small. And if you were messing up, they would send what they call NTAs out to your coaches, your parents, to your advisor, like all your teachers, basically saying like, if you failed a quiz, everybody is going to know about it. So it really gave me that kind of wake up call. And then I was playing in a more competitive league in football and basketball, definitely basketball, but yeah, it was honestly the best experience of my life personally. Like outside of college, like my time with y'all, like prep school is one of the few places I wish I can go back in life.
That's fire, man. Yeah, you're.
Was it just because of how you played in prep school, or was it just the overall experience?
Yeah, I think it was the overall experience. Like I met, the 2 roommates I lived with, we kind of had this like 3rd floor, almost like penthouse. Like our dorm had like a beach volleyball court off to the side. It was like an old townhouse where it was essentially split in half. You had half dorm, and then you had what we call a dorm parent next door. And so that's actually their house year round. They live there.
Oh, wow.
And so they're oftentimes coaches, teachers, whatever. But yeah, no, honestly, it's just the overall experience. The people just so genuine. Obviously, the sports helped, but like just the overall atmosphere of it was just invaluable for me
What
personally.
part of New Hampshire was it in?
Andover. So it was way up there. It was probably like, if anyone knows like New Hampshire, there you got the state capital, which is Concord, which is kind of central New Hampshire. And then my prep school was about 20 to 30 minutes north of that.
Dang.
So
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
just thinking,
very small
just
town.
thinking about saying, hey, we would go to Concord for Buffalo Wild Wings. So that's like a whole nother.
Exit
Yeah, that's like
14.
a whole other.
I forgot them
Yeah.
good old
That's
days.
crazy.
Well, anything south, it's like anything south of Concord was considered like,
Not
I don't know, civilized. Anything north was like, that's race cars and all that. Sorry, Craig Jalifer and Ryan Head. I know you guys are from up there, but
Oh, Ryan Head from that area. Yeah, I'm sure that area trash.
he's from up there. Yeah.
Man, well, so football season at Proctor, for one, very impressive, sir. You was hitting. Now I ain't know you was laying the
Yeah.
wood like that, post. You was really hitting pause.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was I thought I was gonna play backer in college. Yeah, I got elected captain my first year there.
Man.
Yeah. So
that work.
yeah, it was fun. I called the defense. I did all that.
Work? How you get elected captain your first year?
Built different. No.
Like, did they name it to captain before the season or after the season?
Nah, during training camp, I kind of just earned my stripes.
Camp, I can't even imagine.
Bro, you had to you gotta watch the tape. This man was hitting. Bro.
I know, but I'm just saying,
I ain't
like,
even trying to hype him up like that.
I'm just imagining like old boy who been there already. Like, yeah, this is my year to be captain. And Michael Lombard comes in.
I still got the as far as I know to this day, I still have the my prep school record for most tackles in a game. I had 17. My actually the very last game I played there, my last football game, 17 tackles.
Yo, at linebacker.
On my birthday.
That's fire.
Damn.
I see that a lot at linebacker, man. Like, what is it like to be in? You gotta be in a certain type of zone for that. Like, what is that like to just keep just tackle after tackle? As a DB, I don't, it's not my life.
Yeah. No, it's taxing more than anything because like sometimes, I mean, you got to shed blocks. You literally have to like, block destruction. You got to try and, be as ahead of it as you could potentially get, like watching the tape and all that. That's like, you see like Luke Kuechly flying around making plays just because like he knew exactly what the offense was doing. The same thing for me. It was once I knew what they were doing, it was just very instinctual for me, like letting the play develop. And once I knew where the ball was going, it was just fill it. And at the time, it didn't matter how we got him to the ground, but yeah, it racked up after a while. I mean, those games, like the next morning, like especially like in the traps, couldn't do anything. Can't lift your arms. Can't do anything.
Feel like you carrying groceries all day.
Mm-hmm. That's yeah, no, it was fun though.
What was your best memory from that time, like football wise?
From prep school or from high school?
Or I guess you can combine it. I guess if you had to pick a best memory from that time.
Yeah, I think I'll pick two memories. So one was my freshman year of high school. The first interception I ever got. I took it 50 yards out. Granted, I mean, we were blowing them out by then anyway, but still. It was like one of the few times where I've seen my father get like emotional watching one of my games. Because he knew kind of like once I got to high school, I kind of told him, like youth ball, I was kind of a victim of, getting bullied and all that just because I was the runt of the litter. And so there's a lot of stuff I didn't really tell him. And so, once I got to high school, he kind of learned more and more about it. So when he saw that happen, like, me read the play, essentially pick the ball off, take it 50 yards out. That was one of the few times I've seen him like visibly emotional, crying on the sideline.
I feel you.
I said that was probably my favorite
Yeah.
one. The first one that really sticks out. And then when I got to prep school, honestly, is that last game where I was kind of mentally in my own head. Like the same game I set our school record for tackles was the same game I'm talking about, where I wasn't mentally in it at the beginning of the game. And same thing though with my father, just he patrolled the sidelines. Anywhere I was, he was like always in close proximity. And so him just kind of laying into me too. And then for me, it was kind of like a wake up call of I can't be lazy like this all the time. So I turned it on like kind of halfway through the first quarter and killed everybody.
Is that something you kind of constantly struggle with, was like just turning that switch on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I think a lot of it had to do with just kind of like my mental makeup, where I was just easily distracted. So now, kind of like fast forward in my working career, I did a lot of things like, and now I'm like, I have the medication for it too, but like just kind of keep me focused more than anything, because I think that was often overlooked when I was growing up, just because I was literally such a space cadet. I couldn't focus on so many consecutive plays in a row without my mind just wandering. So like my senior year of college, when I tried to do something about it, it actually helped me out a lot.
That's something, shoot, I think a lot of us deal with, just trying to be in the moment every play. Like that's probably the hardest part about football.
Yeah.
Just because you stop and then gotta, you huddle, get the play, stop, wait for the ball to snap.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many times your mind can just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So for somebody to be 100% focused every single play, that's really an advantage, really, for anybody.